Well, the semiconductor stocks rally continues in spades, and it's interesting to note that one of the largest players, maybe the most important, or at least headline-grabbing players, Nvidia, or shares of Nvidia, have actually not been keeping track with that rally. And there's some reasons for that, including the fact that this company still has the earnings report coming up. So let's take a look at this quickly and see if there may be the potential for a catch-up trade, as silly or crazy as that may sound to some people, because the rally's been so steep elsewhere. To understand a little bit what's going on, we do need to look at this semiconductor index, or at least one of the ETF trackers that tracks the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index. We're looking at the SOXX ETF. If you look at the screen here, you can see some of the major holdings. Down here, you can see MU, which is Micron Technology, AMD, Avago or Broadcom, Intel, and then of course Nvidia. They all are roughly between about 7 and on the high end almost 9% of that ETF, including Nvidia. So Nvidia is an important part of that ETF. It doesn't carry the whole thing like it seems to carry many other things, but that said, it's certainly a good part of it. Now, we'll keep this very simple and visual here today, and for that we are going to look at a chart, and that chart is this one here. This is the very simple daily price action chart of Nvidia. You can see back, if you look at the bottom, the x-axis goes back to about 2024, and essentially shares of Nvidia right now, albeit a little bit higher, they are really more or less where they were in October of 2025. So that's 7, 8, 9 months ago of essentially sideways. However, they're looking increasingly bullish, meaning they're kind of coiling up for a move higher. Now, before we look at this in a bit more of sort of an advanced way, just very simply to give you some idea, if one were to look at this purely from a price action perspective, which is one way of doing it, I always say, listen, there's more to it than just the price action, although that is the ultimate arbiter, of course. One can see there's a lot of consolidation that's been happening here, not only since last October, but also once again consolidation for the past couple of weeks or so. So the path of least resistance here, might be higher. Now, again, the earnings report's coming up. I believe the company reports earnings in the second half of May, so we want to be careful about that. If we now overlay this with a little bit more, sophistication of analysis, we will see that from a trend following perspective, and what you're looking at here is our trend following model. You just want to look at the green background color. You can see the Nvidia shares of Nvidia have once again moved into a bullish trend as of, let's call it early April. So you can see we even had a trend following buy signal. And from a very near term perspective, purely from a momentum driven, through a momentum driven lens, you can see we also had momentum pickup and move the stock higher around the same time. Actually, in this case, it actually overlapped at the same time. So there's a bullish setup here, both from a trend following perspective, which is sort of a multi-quarter story, from a near-term momentum perspective. But again, the earnings report is coming up, and so it is possible, and here's the last chart, it is possible that we could see shares of Nvidia catch up to, or at least sort of, rally with the broader semiconductor complex at some point. Now, what I did here is I took shares of Nvidia, which is the red and green line, and I just added on top of it the semiconductor SOXX ETF that I showed you before, and you can see that blue line just absolutely spiking higher. So there's a possibility here for Nvidia to catch up. Again, I do want to warn, we don't hold swing trades through earnings reports, only investments. We prefer to make decisions based on a swing trade after an earnings report. But that's where we are. Hope it helps. We'll see you in the next video.